City Case 6th. We will officially call our meeting to order, and I will ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Mayor Brooks.
Here.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Here.
Councilman Estes.
Here.
Councilman Cassida.
Here.
Councilman May.
Here.
Councilman Hughes.
Here.
Councilman Webb.
Here.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We do have 100% present, and we are thankful that, as is our normal tradition, we begin with our prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. We will begin today with the pledge, but I have asked for our Vice Mayor, Avery Johnson, to give our invocation, and as we all know, he has been the recipient of our prayers, and I thank God that he is healthy and he is back with us today. So let's stand for the pledge together and then the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vice Mayor?
As the mayor has said, I'm actually a recipient of a blessing because it hadn't been too long ago. Last month I was in the hospital and I was 11 days unconscious. And one of the nurses actually came in and told me, she said, "You must have a lot of people praying for you." She said, "Because most people don't really make it after they've been where you've been." And I said, I know that to be true, and it is true. And a lot of people in this room, a lot of you know me, and I know you. You've been my friend years and years ago, and you're still my friend. And I just want to tell you, all of my council colleagues up here, and staff, I appreciate your prayers. Let us pray. Father, we do thank you once again for the opportunity to be here. And we realize that if it had not been for you, we may not be here today, but we are. We just thank you, dear God, for everyone that's gathered in this room and for all the things that are on our agenda. Lord, we just pray for your divine guidance and pray for your continued blessings over our community and the people of our city. And now, Lord, we just pray that you continue to be with us, and we pray, Lord, that everything that we do and say will be pleasing and acceptable in thy sight. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Vice Mayor. You even got an amen from the crowd out there. That's fantastic. That takes us to the next item on our agenda, which is item number 4, which is to waive the reading of the minutes from our past regular session on September the 12th, and that does require a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the City Council of the City of Cleveland waive the reading of the minutes for the regular session of the City Council held on September the 12th and approve them as read.
Second.
That is a proper motion by Vice Mayor Johnson. It's properly seconded by Councilman May. Any comments, questions, or corrections for those minutes? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yeah, aye.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Councilman Cassida.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
Councilman Estes. That carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Takes us to item number 5 on the agenda, which is special presentation and public comments. And we have many special presentations today, and I'm thankful to see this great audience here today. We are here, first of all, to honor one of our own, and if Chief Ron Harrison would join me at the podium. Chief? I'm getting all that, with my glasses. I'm honored that you're here. I'm going to stand over here so I can read this into the minutes. Chief, and I'm thankful for the CFD family. We've got CPD, CFD, all the Ds are here. And I'm incredibly grateful that your colleagues are here. And on behalf of the City Council, we're all going to gather down here and take a picture. But I'm also honored to read just a few things about you, Chief. And please forgive the length. There's quite a few things. This is a proclamation to honor Fire Chief Ron Harrison. Whereas Chief Harrison, a Bradley County Central High School graduate, of 1978, studying nursing and fire science, earning a degree at Cleveland State and Chattanooga State, before accepting a job offer in the newspaper for the Cleveland Fire Department. After a really 14-week program, you have been with the department ever since. Whereas Chief Harrison began your service with the CFD in February of '95 and served the entirety of your career, being promoted to chief in 2015. And under your leadership, new equipment, new personnel, all were added to the fire service, as well as the implementation of a program to reduce the risk of cancer for firefighters. You oversaw the building of Fire Station 6. You improved the ISO rating to a level 2 and improved the community's overall fire safety rating. And whereas you helped deploy a support group of firefighters to do work in the aftermath of 9/11, we led the establishment of the Cleveland Fire Training Tower, which today will be named by the City Council in your honor. Whereas Chief Harrison will certainly be missed for your leadership, but looking back on these decades of accomplishments helps us all to realize how much you brought to the Cleveland Fire Department all along the way for all the citizens that you serve. Now therefore, Kevin Brooks, Mayor, and the City Council wish Chief Harrison much happiness in your well-deserved retirement, enjoying your family and enjoying your fishing. We wish you a long and healthy retirement, and it is our honor today to officially name the Fire Tower Training Center in honor of Fire Chief Ron Harrison. Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you. That's a little bit surreal to get an honor like this, but I honestly, in 26 and a half years, don't think I ever did anything by myself. The fire department is the essence of a team. All those things that I will proudly take credit for them, that they were accomplished with the team. And part of that team stands behind me. I'll take just a second. I thank the council for this honor, especially Councilman Hughes for, I think he worked on a lot of these details, and I appreciate that effort. Mayor Emeritus Tom Rowland, I think, was instrumental. I think this may have been his brainchild. I'm not absolutely sure. He's here with us, and he's here. Better late than that. And of course I want to thank my family, my beautiful daughter, my son-in-law. I brought one of my 9 grandchildren. You're welcome. I love my wife.
Have them stand, Ron. Have your family stand.
Again, they were with me every step of that time. So anyway, I've taken up enough of your time. I'm deeply honored, and I thank you for that honor.
I think the council wants to come and have a picture made here.
I'll make some comments, yes. I appreciate the service of Ron Harrison. First of all, he is definitely a leader of men, and ran a great organization. And I noticed when he was being honored, he wanted to give credit to the team because he's a team player. And you know, the iOS that came down to level 2 that Mayor Brooks mentioned as he made a presentation on the proclamation, you know what that means? That means insurance in the city of Cleveland, both residential and commercial, gets a better rate because of our fire department level 2. And we appreciate that very much. The building of fire station number 6 was tremendous. Also, Ron Harrison presented to us for a heavy rescue engine, which we felt was necessary, and then also 2 ladder trucks that he came to us, and those were done during his administration. So as you retire, Chief Harrison, we wish you the best. We appreciate your work, and we pray that God will bless you. Thank you.
Council, you want to join us down here? We'll take a picture.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment, job well done, Chief. Yeah,
Mayor Emeritus,
done well.
you've joined us. Would you care to say anything? I'll bring the mic to you.
What did he say?
That's not like him.
And we're proud to have you with us here. Council, let's join us on here on the main floor with Chief. Chief, let's come up here next to you. All your flags. You get to take all these home.
Oh, yeah.
Hang them up in the den.
First, second, third. Come on. This is your job. Hold them a little bit. Please, please.
You got us, Pat? Sam, you want to come in and jump in?
Yeah. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
I guess I'll just stay right here at the podium. Our next presentation is from Mr. Vince Darrow to announce the CALIA Regional Program presentation. And I'll let you say whatever you'd like, and then I'll call Chief or whoever else you'd like.
Then, on behalf of the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, our Commission Chair, Mr. Marcus Brown, and Executive Director, Mr. Craig Hartley, I want to thank you for letting me come again to present an accreditation award to the Cleveland Police Department. CALIA was created in 1979 by founding organizations, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the National Association of Black Law Enforcement Executives, the National Sheriff's Association, and the Police Executive Research Forum. When they recognized the need within the law enforcement community to develop professional standards to enhance police services to the citizens throughout the communities they serve. CALIA is the only internationally recognized accrediting body for public safety, and we serve the United States, Canada, Mexico, and Barbados. CALIA currently has 1,265 enrolled agencies that are striving to attain or maintain accreditation under standards developed by the best public safety practitioners and leaders of our time. Gaining internationally accredited status is a distinction held by very few, as there are over 18,000 law enforcement agencies throughout the United States alone. That equates to just below about 5% of agencies in the country are accredited. There are only 30 agencies accredited within Tennessee. As law enforcement agencies are providing services to the community today, They are more likely to have their actions questioned and their policies and procedures scrutinized. Many CALEA accredited agency heads can reassure the public that they're doing the right thing with statements such as, "We are a CALEA accredited agency and as such have policies and procedures in place to ensure our citizens they're being served at the highest level of professionalism." Or as we've seen recently, statements like, "We are CALEA accredited and have been doing that for a long time." Many agency heads are reluctant to have outsiders review their work and administrative practices because they can detail deficiencies the agencies may have. It requires the department to be open to change in order to demonstrate they work and conduct business in a way that meets with contemporary law enforcement standards. Chief Gibson thinks otherwise and understands that CALEA accreditation minimizes his agency's exposure to liability, demonstrates accountability to the public, and guarantees professional management practices. In practical terms, the chief believes it confirms their commitment to excellence in law enforcement. So based on the goals and mission statement of CALEA, I can find no better time to present this accreditation certificate than in a public meeting with the mayor and council, and where there are citizens also present. The certificate itself is simply a matted paper with a frame, but it has a much broader meaning. The certificate clearly represents the agency's effort to achieve accredited status, thereby demonstrating its willingness to change and effectively address contemporary public safety concerns. It represents a commitment to doing the right thing for the right reason and doing it the right way. It represents adherence to a professional code. Lastly, it represents an ongoing dedication to ensuring that the agency's resources are appropriately developed, effectively deployed, and constantly managed, all in the name of a safer city for citizens and visitors alike. On March 7 through 9, 2022, two professional assessors met with personnel from the Cleveland Police Department and reviewed the agency's activities, functional impacts, and management strategies. In the 4 years prior to this meeting, the agency has made available to CALEA compliant service members their electronic proof files covering applicable standards. These assessors determine the agency's compliance with all applicable standards. They also noted that the agency is committed to the intent of the CALEA process and accordingly exemplifies what accreditation represents. The assessors interviewed 32 persons, both staff and members of the community. All interviews were positive and indicative of the agency's continued commitment to professionalism. Agency members were highly knowledgeable and supportive of the CALEA process. Chief Gibson was continually praised for his leadership and dedication to the community. The assessors found that the agency personnel were very proud to be members of CPD and were reflective of a professional attitude with a high sense of service to their community. At the commission meeting held in Chicago, Illinois on July 23, 2022, commissioners reviewed the assessors' reports, concurred with their findings, and unanimously voted to reaccredit the agency. This is the department's 5th award for advanced law enforcement accreditation, which is the highest award available through CALEA. I'd like to invite forward Chief Gibson and any of his staff to receive the certificate. I also want to note that none of this would be possible had it not been for you, the members of the governing body, in conjunction with you, the citizens. Without the support of the citizens and the governing body, the police department cannot exist, and it cannot do its job to serve you properly. So I do appreciate that. Steve? And I'm going to step around this side,
Absolutely.
and I'm going to talk real loud. I always like to turn and look at the audience because this is important to you. You have been the people that have supported the department. They do a lot of work, but they can't do it without you. This is what it said. Be it hereby known that the Cleveland, Tennessee Police Department, having fully demonstrated its voluntary commitment to law enforcement excellence by living up to a body of standards deemed essential to the protection of the life, health, and safety and rights of the citizens it serves, and having exemplified the best professional practices, the conduct of its responsibilities, is hereby, upon the recommendation of the members of this commission, awarded the Certificate of Advanced Accreditation, effective the first day of August 2022. Chief, congratulations.
I just want to thank the department and the crew. Charles Burke's here, Lieutenant Gibbs will be here, he's our accreditation manager. These are the guys that have to keep this wheel rolling for 4 years. So what August 1st means for us is we start back over with what we accomplished with this 4 years. But we also appreciate the city manager and the council for supporting us and this CALEA. It's a culture within our police department now, and that's something we have to work on. But unless we have the support and backing from the community and our city council and our city manager, it doesn't happen. Ron, I didn't know your thing was today, so we'd have postponed it, but we appreciate Ron and his work, the fire department. But everybody, thank you for your support.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Gibson, I know on behalf of the entire council, we're incredibly proud of your work and all that you do for our city. Any council comments? Thank you all for being here today. I'm going to rejoin my friends right down here at the podium. All right. This podium is bigger than me, so I'm going to stand aside. I think you can hear me. I got to thank Aaron Weatherford and the parents who brought this to the city council's attention, and the importance that I've seen in local media, at the local football games, and that our city is going gold for Child Cancer Awareness Month. And what an honor it is, I get to be the person that says these words and gives you this proclamation, but the men and women of our city council are the ones that will join me in implementing this Go Gold for this month. And let me read some statistics on this proclamation that I will give to all of you. Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, whereas each day 47 children are diagnosed in the United States, which means more than 17,000 children in the United States are diagnosed each year and face their battles with incredible bravery and inspiring hope. And whereas cancer is the leading cause of death among U.S. children, resulting in the death of approximately 1,800 children each year. And whereas many childhood cancer survivors suffer long-term side effects and experience secondary cancers later in childhood or as adults as a result of the cancer treatments that they receive. And whereas local parent advocacy groups confirm that there are at least 40 children diagnosed with cancer in Cleveland, Tennessee over the last 30 years, and with permission of their parents, we wish to recognize them by name. We honor the following childhood cancer fighters who are today in active treatment. Some of them are present with us. It's Olivia Weatherford, Kimmy Nascimento, Christian Ingram, Axel Florian, Sebastian Hernandez, and Seth Moyles. And whereas we honor the following childhood cancer survivors who are in remission, and some of you are here today: Aiden Boyd, Aiden Williams, Audrey Robbins, Braden Dilbeck, Candace Womack, Caleb Ledford, Chloe Watts McClung, Dylan Duncan, Eva Townsend, Jonah Phillips, Kinley Ray, Lexi Workman, Lydia Brink, Ryan Perdomo, and Wyatt Maxwell. And whereas we honor the following childhood cancer warriors who courageously battle but are not able to be with us here today, and some of the parents have brought photos for us to remember. Sorry.
Aren't you on the Economic Council?
When you know these kids, and you know these names, it's personal. AJ Pugh, Amber Blair, Cheyenne Edmondson, Colton Malone, Danica Holder, Duck Walker, Dylan Green, Emma Cummings, Grayson Mosier, Hamden Sir,
Jackson Kidd, Joshua Freeman, Mason Cobble, Matthew Yarber, Ryan Ramsey, and Sierra Underwood. And whereas the City Council joins me to honor all these courageous fighters, survivors, and angels all across our nation and across the world, but especially here in the City with Spirit, Cleveland, Tennessee, and any other local children that we may have accidentally and unintentionally omitted. Now therefore, Kevin Brooks, Mayor of the City of Cleveland, joined by my City Council, do hereby proclaim this entire month of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Cleveland. And we encourage every citizen to join us in this worthy observance. And the cancer-ridden color for childhood cancer is gold, which we are all wearing today. And we urge every Clevelander to go gold and remember these children. September 26, 2022. We love you. And we honor you. Aaron, I know you got a telephone in your hand, but I'm going to present this to you, and if you have any comments that you want to make on behalf of this group,
That's a load right
I
there.
know, but we're grateful that you brought this to our nation.
Olivia. His daughter's name, Olivia.
Much like Kevin can't do things by himself, the council needs support, we need support. It takes a lot more than one person. We see one child going through a struggle, going through a battle, but it's not just that one child. It's the army that's behind the child. And this entire room is filled with people who have either been affected directly or indirectly from pediatric cancer. And something like this can't be done by one person. It does take an army, and we can't do it alone. And that's why myself, Ginger, Glory, we've come together and been able to reach out and get these families together to show that it's not just one person, it's not just one family. It's a lot bigger than that. And we are the City of Spirit, and our community has been more than favorable to our families, and we've been very blessed to be surrounded by organizations who want to do more for the one child and the one family. Because as you are now seeing, it's not just one, it's not just two. Our community, our region, we've been very blessed, and I'm honored to be a part of this group. We didn't choose this path, it kind of chose us, but we're embracing that, and together showing off gold in September for a city means that showing gold for an entire year, every year, day in and day out, is something that we do. So we appreciate the city, we appreciate the council, we appreciate the high schools, all three high schools who are representing gold for the rest of the month on their helmet. Again, it's a community. We are a community, and we're very blessed, and we thank you for the platform. We thank you for the recognition, and we look forward to every September in the city of Cleveland being one of awareness for pediatric cancer. So thank you so much. And we thank you for the families that are here, because we want to be a resource. We can't do it alone, so we are here together. So we thank you for being here, and we're honored. So,
Thank you, Aaron.
Kevin. Thank you, council.
All right, any comments or updates from the council? Seeing none, that will take us to our next item on the agenda is item number 6, hearing, petitions, and communications. Our first public hearing is for, yeah.
We might want to let our guests know it's about to get real boring up there.
And I saw a request for a picture. Did you want to have a group photo? Okay,
We can do
Let's-
that and make it leave.
we'll do that, yeah.
Thank you.
Why don't you all join us right up here? We'll take a big group photo. Tim, you got your camera ready? Yeah. All right. Ansley, are you still here? Oh, great. I'm just glad I don't have to stand next to Tom.
Yeah, many times have I told you that.
It's a short straw.
Yeah. Thank God. Yeah. Wide angle camera.
All right. Thank you all for coming. We honor you.
A lot of prayers went up for her, Olivia.
Thank you.
There's Olivia, the other large Olivia.
All right. That takes us to item number 6 on the agenda, which is our public hearings and communications. Our first, item 6A, is a public hearing to hear public comments concerning a request on the property owner to rezone .54 acres from R1 to PI for property located at 4041 North Ocoee Street. This was in your packet and discussed earlier. It was approved by the Planning Commission 8-0. And I now declare this public hearing to be open. Mr. Varnell, do you have any comments for the council or for the hearing?
Primarily just to find out if you guys have questions. It's pretty self-explanatory, and the original request was for a commercial highway, but through discussions I recommended if you're going to attempt to rezone around it, there was some public institutional in that area, office type uses that would probably be better suited. But obviously, if there's any specific questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any comments or questions from the council? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Varnell. We'll now ask if anyone would like to speak in favor of this rezoning request to please speak now. Seeing none, if anyone would like to speak in opposition to this rezoning request, speak now. Seeing none and hearing none, we will declare this public hearing to be closed. Takes us to item B under public hearings. Item B is a public hearing to hear public comments concerning a request by the City of Cleveland to amend the Cleveland Municipal Code Title 14 zoning ordinance, sections 3.8A and 3.8B, to clarify accessory structures, total maximum square footage per lot. This was approved by the Planning Commission 8-0. And we will now declare this public hearing to be open. Mr. Varnell, do you have any further explanation for us?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just to kind of clear up, but there was a couple of different ways to follow resources regulations within the zoning ordinance. This just took some of that out and made it very specific, where there's one set rule to follow, and it caps it as an accessory use, so square footage wise. There was different caveats, and this just kind of streamlined that.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Varnell. Any comments or questions from the council for Mr. Varnell? Seeing none, we will now declare, we ask for anybody to speak in favor of this amendment to the code. Seeing none and hearing none, we will ask if anyone would like to speak in opposition to this amendment. And likewise, seeing none, we will now declare this public hearing to be closed. Takes us to item C under public hearings, which is to hear public comments concerning a request by the City of Cleveland to amend the Cleveland Municipal Code Title 14 zoning ordinance, Section 4.1.2A, sub number 1, to require a pre-submittal meeting for PUDs. This was approved by the Planning Commission 8-0. We will now declare this public hearing to be open. Mr. Barnell, that was rather self-explanatory, but if you
Yes,
have any
it is.
additional comments.
And just to give some perspective, I like to sit down with people and have conversations before they submit something so that expectations are the same across the board between the applicant and the city.
I think it's a great idea. Thank you. We'll now declare this public hearing to be open. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this amendment? Seeing none and hearing none, would anyone like to speak in opposition to this amendment? Likewise, seeing none and hearing none, we will now declare this public hearing to be closed. Thank you, Mr. Varnell, for your assistance. It now takes us to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. There is a note that one item was requested by Councilman Cassada to be moved to new business. That is item A, final passage of ordinance 2022-34, amending Title 9 of the Municipal Code to add a new Chapter 8 to be titled Nightclubs. It's in your packets. Pages 9 through 13 has been requested by a member for the new business section. Without any other changes or amendments, this does require a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
There's a proper motion by Councilman Estes, properly seconded by Vice Mayor Avery Johnson. Are there any additional comments, questions, or concerns from the council? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Estes. Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie. Carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. It takes us to item 8 on the agenda, which is unfinished business, of which there is none today. Moves us to item number 9 on the agenda, which is reports from council members. We did not get a chance to do this at our 1 o'clock meeting, so we'll begin today with Councilman Cassada.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, these meetings are getting very lengthy at this time, and we'll see these also in November and December, more than likely. I would encourage the council to move on our charter, which our charter states that if we have a meeting on Monday that falls on a holiday, it falls on the following day, the Tuesday. That way we're not time sensitive in some of these things, and these programs get very lengthy on this part. So it does state in our charter, so I would ask it to keep these meetings in a smaller manner, that we abide by our charter on that part, unless council wants to do otherwise. The other thing is on
Is that a motion?
well, it's not a motion, it's in our charter. I don't have, it says in our charter. Here, let me read it in the charter here.
Well, I know it's in the charter. I know what the charter says.
Well, let me just.
But, I mean, are we in agreement that we're gonna,
Well, I think it's up to council on that part where it says.
well, let's
it
read
says-
them.
It says the regular meeting of city council be held at 3 o'clock on the second and fourth Monday of each month.
I know what it says.
When such day falls as a legal holiday, the meeting shall be put on the following day unless otherwise prescribed by the city council.
And we've done that from time to time when we've had something that was important,
Yeah.
that was time, but just,
You can call a special meeting with the mayor and 3 other council
Yeah.
members if they want to call a special meeting. But just a timely frame that this gets into.
So this is more of a notification rather than a motion
Yeah,
for
it's a
action.
notification
Okay.
on
Okay.
that part. Because we're saying we're going to skip the meeting in October, which some of these things are time sensitive, so I would hope that we would follow our charter.
All right, anything further, Councilman?
Yeah, also on, I've had a lot of comments and people in the community, businesses. I've had a issue with peddlers and people asking for money and stuff. I just want to refrain to our charter also, Title IX, 9-105, restrictions on peddlers, street beggars, and solicitors. This is no peddlers, street bargers, or solicitors, or charitable, or solicitors, or, describing in these positions. And no permitted, then set in operations of booth stands on streets, sidewalks, or any other publics within the city. And I know we've had problems with this. I was at Hardee's on Paul Huff coming out, and somebody was standing out there, and I'm sure business owners, I've heard from business owners too, that these people are standing out, so I would like to, some way or another, if we could deter these people from standing in certain areas. Also standing near entrance, dwelling place, business, or any other place disturbance of any pedestrians or vehicle traffic, which I think is important also. One of the things that ACOA has in here, which I think it's good, solicitation without public right-of-ways, purpose ensuring public health, safety, and welfare of those using to the public right-of-ways. ACOA streets is unlawful for a person to organize or solicit or take any attention, some contributions in intersections. I think it's important. We see it coming off, I see it all the time coming off the interstate on the exit on 25th Street, somebody standing there in between. There's no walkways through there. There's a sign there too that's been knocked down. So my concern is that somebody else is going to get hurt. We just had a pedestrian here a few weeks ago crossing Keith Street coming off of Huckleberry that got injured, fatality on that part. But I just think public safety, as far as people moving around the community, and especially on that, it's, I've heard a lot of outcry from business owners and individuals too on that part. So is there any way we could enforce this? Chief, I don't know, I don't know what I'm asking, if it's codes or y'all on that part, what you possibly can do is deter them and move them on to somewhere else.
You can write them a $50 ticket that they're not gonna pay.
Well, I mean, if you move them on somewhere, you just tell them they can't be there, they'll find out they can't be there. I mean, at a period of time, it's gonna be, being persistent and consistent always gets the job done. So they'll figure it out that they can't go there. But when you go by there, officer rides by and doesn't stop and say anything to them, they think it's okay, and they'll continue to stand there.
I mean, I'll be honest, it's a daunting task.
It is.
And then you know who's standing there lawfully and who's not. When somebody's standing there holding a sign that says "God bless you" on the side of the road, doesn't necessarily mean they're soliciting for money or doing those things. No different than somebody standing there saying,
I just asked read in our codes on that part. It reiterates what we're talking about on that part.
we do what we can within the bounds of the law. Citation and officers telling them to leave is little deterrent if they can stand out there in the parking lot. Somebody brings us, we'll need $20, $40 or whatever. So we do what we can.
So you have any comment on that? You like to have any comments on that?
In my experience in the city court, I think it was at the city court a couple weeks ago that we do write tickets on the peddler ordinance, and Judge Banks does a nice job working with them, those folks that get written up. But I think that I think Mark's 100% correct. Is they enforce it as much, when we've gotten calls from people in the community or council members, they don't hesitate to go out and move them along, and they understand the issue, but it becomes a legal question, as Mark was talking about, is a lot of the signs, or most of the signs say, "God bless you," or something like that.
I haven't seen one in Cleveland say that. I've seen need money, out of work, cardboard, and they fold it up and please come by. I have never seen.
I guarantee you, say what that say, God bless you. They know the loophole there.
Okay.
I promise you, it's not.
But standing on sidewalks or in traffic areas, high volume traffic areas is gonna cause an incident, like coming off the off-ramp off the interstate.
And I guess I would equate it to election time when people stand on the side of the road, on the side of both of them. That's soliciting as well. So that's the kind of thing that we run into. It's not, we don't make the rules, we just try to enforce the rules as best we can, and moving someone from one parking lot to another, it's kind of counterproductive sometimes. You approach the people, you do what you can lawfully, and then try to determine who's there lawfully. A lot of businesses will tell us they don't mind that they're standing out there on the sidewalk and holding a sign. I said a guy playing the violin in the Target parking lot the other day with a sign. You know, it's.
I think if it's okay with the business owners, it's fine. I mean, it states it in there.
Yeah, so that's what makes it difficult if when you're talking about proactively going out and seeing someone standing there with a sign in a parking lot, deciding that, okay, I'll approach that person, the business owner doesn't have a problem with being there, as opposed to the business owner calling and saying they're here. So we try to aggressively push that if they're there and they're interrupting people that are trying to do business, and we see that, them interrupting business, then that's one thing.
So business owners, if they want to, they need to put no soliciting signs, so you'll have an enforcement at that point? Is that what you're basically saying?
It helps, but what I'm saying is even if we see them interrupting a patron that's walking into a store, and it's obvious that they're annoying that patron, we can, our officers will intervene at that point and try to deal with the situation.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Bryan Creek letter, we had a letter in our box about that. Is that project still on over there at Spring Creek? There's a letter states in here from Dave Ramsey. It says that we now see that 2 plots of land originally developed are now separated for sale. Does that mean that Bryan's Creek development is no longer active?
Mr. Fivas or Mr. Brownell, it's
The
the question is, Councilman Casa and the council received a letter requesting is the project at Stone Lake that was the very large housing development. They're asking if it's still active, if it's still on.
Apparently both lots are up for sale.
We don't know, but we're happy to inquire on what their status is.
There could be conversations going on, but they aren't
We
with us
don't
at this
know.
point. Okay, thank you.
We don't know.
Okay, all right. I was just trying to follow up with that. Mayor, last thing I have is, I've had people in our community reiterate this again too, and I want to ask about the bank building on Brader Drive. Do we have an update on that by any chance? They want to know where the status quo and where we stand with that?
I think the update is we've had some additional conversations with the donor. They have requested some information from us in writing, and we have provided that, and we have in turn requested some information from them in writing. And I think the paperwork is just
Hanging out there?
catching up with each other.
Okay, all right. I made a comment I would ask on that part. You did have a meeting with Mr. President? Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Councilman May.
Yeah, Joe, Michigan Avenue Road, what's the status on it?
Narrow.
We have met with the consultant out at the site. They're actively working on the design. We have to do a preliminary engineering report for a grant, and we have to turn that in pretty quick, so they're working on that, and hope to have that in the next week or two.
Praise the Lord.
But they are, Canyon is working on the design. We are working on the in-house design for Menace and Michigan, and we have that almost completed. We're doing some survey work.
So you're doing that in-house?
We're doing that section in-house, but I hadn't turned one,
Okay.
that Menace.
What, do we have a time frame?
I have the design almost completed, so after that, then it'll fall into when the crews can get out. We don't want to tear up the road if we can't pave, and we don't hit our paving window, we don't want it to set all winter, so.
Yeah. So you're doing design work on part of it, and then we're gonna sub out part of it?
Yeah, the Michigan and 20th Street is a much larger project, and that's subbed out to a consultant.
Would you say that's 85% of it?
That's 85, yeah, that's the majority of it.
Yeah.
The Menace Road,
What you're saying is subbed out is design work.
design work and doing the bid and getting it ready to actually.
And so you're doing part of it, which you will combine and then
Well,
put it
it's
out
almost
for-
like two separate projects, but that will improve that entire area of Michigan Avenue. Our project will be quite a bit smaller, just a turn lane off Michigan onto Menace, and then an extra turn lane on Menace. That's gonna be in-house, because that'll be smaller. That'll be almost like how we did 20th and Georgetown, where there's a small turn lane there.
So Public Works is gonna do that part of it.
They'll do that part.
And
But the big intersection could be quite a bit of grade work, a lot of drainage. We're also trying to improve that flooding where it floods at Barney's Lane, so
Right.
that's a much larger project. Almost on the scale of like what we did at Candy's.
okay. So, but help me here. We still have not put out for bid for engineer.
No, we have a designer, and they are working on the actual design now. We've hired a
Okay.
designer, and they're on board, and
Oh, they're on board, so we're waiting on that back
Yes,
to bid out the construction.
yes.
And so, what are we talking about, 2 weeks?
No, that's
Yeah,
a.
that's all I've got.
That wishful? Yeah, 2 weeks.
Speaking of Public Works, I'm going to take a quick moment and apologize to Councilman May. It was in his district, Fulbright Road, but the widow that reached out to me at church, Tommy, your team showed up the very next day, and I just got to tell you how thankful I am that we've got a Public Works department that is so responsive. We get a lot of the credit up here, but your team responding on Fulbright Road, literally within 24 hours, spoke volumes to this lady who felt quite overlooked. So, thank you. That takes us to Councilman Hughes.
Yes, I'll follow up on Mayor Brooks. I received a call from Max Morris this morning. He asked that I tell the council about this, Chief Gaylor. He had an emergency yesterday and called it in. And the fire department came to his house in 3 minutes. Now, where's the fire department and where's his house? It's Fire Station 4, is that Key Street?
Yeah.
And he lives next to Santec. So they got there in 3 minutes, and his wife was needing assistance. And the EMS came later. But he asked that I share that with you and our audience, that they were very efficient, did a wonderful job for them getting his wife to the hospital.
Mayor, I've got one other thing.
Certainly, Councilman May.
Yeah, I also got a call from a guy that lives in my district on Gibson Drive, and he had called the non-emergency number. Young lady delivered food to him, left her dog in the van running. The dog locked up the van. So she was about to freak out. And so, anyway, made the call to the non-emergency 911.
I think that's
He
emergency.
said within 3 minutes, a patrolman showed up, and he was fascinated on how quick the guy was able to unlock the van, save the dog, and everybody was happy. So I forgot about that.
Back to Councilman Hughes.
I'm not finished, Mayor.
This is like CNN.
I gave way to my senior on the council, as he had a very important announcement.
Yeah.
All I want to say is, Avery Johnson, we're happy to have you back. And I think you're right. There's a lot of prayers went out for you. I kept up with you through your brother and your sister-in-law. Andrew and Brenda. So we're glad you're back and doing better. And I know you went through a tough time.
Thank you.
I'm thankful to see the First Lady of the Johnson Home has joined us.
She is.
Madam Vice Mayor, we're honored to have you with us, and we're thankful that you got your husband back to us, and the Lord. Councilman Webb, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing I'd like to mention, Joe, I really appreciate the update on the security on the Greenway. I think it's pretty important that we establish that as a priority, and it was good to hear your report on that today. Second thing I'd like to mention, we have a lot of requests for a lot of projects citywide. And we do a lot of those projects, but it's not often that you get a thank you card after those projects are completed. And I would like to read this note that I received, and Christy, if we can make it a part of the official minutes of the meeting. It was given to me, but it's addressed to dear all on City Council and all others who had a part in the new access road off of Tomahawk Circle. It is with heartfelt gratitude my husband and I thank you for all your time and city expense to make this road possible. I and all my neighbors were at great risk to our safety every day trying to enter and leave our neighborhood. It was very stressful. You can be assured that building this road saved injuries, property damage, and saved lives over time. Thank you, Laura Martz, 2035 Tomahawk Circle. I wanted to share that with the council, Mayor.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, Councilman.
And the other thing I would mention, just a reminder, there is another election coming up in November, and early voting starts on October the 19th and concludes on November the 3rd.
Thank you,
Still
Councilman.
running?
No, I'm not running.
I'm sorry.
I'm not running, I'm done.
Oh, my. Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yes, sir, Mayor. I just want to say thanks again to all my colleagues and everybody up here that called me, checked on me and kept up with me while I was going through my transitions and things. And also for the food, that's just a suggestion if it should happen again. My wife, she thinks that she doesn't got to be sitting there watching me instead of cooking something. But we did get a lot of food. Thanks again on that. One thing I wanted to say while Chief Harrison was here, and I didn't get a chance to say it, but I remember working at Maytag. We used to work on what we call a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, and so when I came to the council, I talked to, I don't know whether it was Joe or Janice, but it was one of the city managers, and I said, it would be good if we this time get all department heads to come up with a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and that way maybe we can better prepare for some of the things in the future coming down the road. And I talked to Chief Harrison about it, and sure enough, when we got to the meeting where we were going to start discussing these things, I talked to Ron, just happened to meet him outside the door, and I asked him how was he doing with his 5-year, 10-year plan. He said, I got a 15-year plan.
Oh, you're proud.
And it's the first time I've seen the city have a department head that has come up with a 15-year plan. But the very fact that we went from a 3 rating in our fire department down to a 2, he had it on his 15-year plan. So he was a great chief. He did a good job. And he did move us further down the road, So I just want to share that. But anyway, thanks a lot for everything. And great meeting, good report, Joe, and a lot of issues. I know one of my colleagues here is a little bit disturbed about the length of our meetings. And I think that's just about the nature of the game from here on out, because we're growing so much and we're doing so much and we're catching up with so much in the past that we just didn't have the funds to do, we just didn't have the resources. But, I can see that it's growing. I can see that the agenda is getting long. It's not quite the longest one I've had. We had one here that was about 4 pages not too long ago. So, we just have to dig in, bear with it, and get the job done. We're doing good. We really are. Thank you.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Good to have you back. Councilwoman McKenzie.
Yes, Mayor. I'd just like to commend Chief Gibson and also the Cleveland Police Department for their new crisis intervention team and the fact that there's 21 officers that are now involved and trained for that. I had the opportunity to ride with them the other day for just a little while, Officers Evie West and Nathan Hardwick, and also Luke from the Volunteer Behavior Health Department. And we had an opportunity to go out and check on one gentleman. I think he had previously been arrested for disturbing maybe some new things in public. But it was interesting because they were following up, and I was very impressed by the professionalism that they used and the humanity with which they handled this situation. This gentleman is homeless, and he's actually been a professor. He's traveled the world, but he's fallen on hard times. He's on medication, which he cannot get, and because of the lack of medication, it causes him to act out in, unacceptable behaviors, and it's caused him problems. But this is just a little bit of what we're looking at and what we're dealing with in the homeless situation. And I look forward to being able to ride again and look into this situation more. And I just want to commend them for their efforts in this homeless situation with this team. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Estes.
Yeah, a few things here. It can't go without notice that Greg Thomas did a whole presentation with 50 slides in less than 30 minutes. Seriously, you guys laugh all you want. That's shocking. And that should be noted in the minutes. And it was a good one. Wow. I put that 1A on my list.
I wish Greg was here to hear that.
I know.
It's awesome.
So number one on my list, I want to talk just briefly with my colleagues about the Planning Commission. And you talk about a steep 2-year learning curve. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed the pain you put me through.
You deserve it.
Oh my gosh. If the needle moves in this town, it starts the Planning Commission. If culture moves, expectations move. I want to talk about just a couple things. I'm not going to say much because if I do, you won't believe what I'm telling you. But Robert Barnell is the right person at the right time. And when you see excellence, you know it. And he has tact. He has the skills. I've really enjoyed working with him, and I just want to publicly say that. You're doing a phenomenal job with a bunch of knuckleheads, right? Up here, right? I mean, seriously. You are doing a wonderful job, and I sit amazed.
Speak for yourself.
Not you guys, the Planning Commission.
I'm about to gavel this thing right now.
Okay, that's right, sorry. All right.
Don't
like
print,
in our
don't print that, Tim.
yeah, strike. In our consent agenda, we're cleaning up some of what the codes is. We've got codes, we've got sub-regulations, zoning codes, we've got sub-regulations. A lot of those don't match and all, and Robert is gently taking us through this, cleaning them up so that there isn't discrepancies. And I think we're going to see more of this in the months to come, and it's just going to make Cleveland more efficient. It's going to help staff. It's going to help us all, and I really appreciate that. Speaking of time and spent time in meetings, we spent 2.5 hours last week on sidewalks. You came late and you left early, Mr. Cassidy. To see Orba, River County, everybody come together, put their ideas on the table, come together, pass 8-1 or 7-1, I can't remember how many were there that night. I know it's coming our way soon, but it's just seeing people come together, and I just can't imagine the group that was in the room come together like they did without staff taking a lot of time, doing a lot of work, Robert, Joe, and so this is really good things. This is the things we've been asking for. I feel I'm a liaison here, and it's moving that direction. The needle is moving, and Yeah, I mean, Cleveland is moving from just a sleepy little town to like a real metro community. And I think the Planning Commission is the Wild West where you see that in the most visceral way. Number 3 on my list, I just want to keep our attention on the Pie Center. They're pulling it off, every bit of it. If they pull off half of it, it's a home run. I know it's some of the industry that have talked or reached out to me personally. You know, it's about Lee, it's about the Pie Center. It's an asset to Cleveland, and I know we're talking about this ribbon cutting on November 14th. Parker Street extension and streetscaping, well, the Pie Center is part of that, the county schools. This is a really good thing for all of us. 2 last things. Tom had scads of praise on the quality and the speed at which your guys are doing the Greenway extension out in Tom's district. You know, Cameron and I hear all kinds of stuff every day almost, and it's just been lots of praise. And I know the pictures were great today. And then also, I know this isn't you, Tommy, it's more to you, Joe. I like the idea, like Ken said, of the pilot program. I know that goes with our homeless intervention initiative that we put together as well. That was one of 15 points. Well overdue. I think that's great. I really appreciate that. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. And I'll make one introduction, or at least announcement, of welcome. We had US DOT conversations earlier about the train and the bridge, but it's not often that we have our congressional office, Chuck Fleshman's office, here with us, Miss Gracie White. So thank you for being here and sitting through this entire city. And please give the congressman since we're now all in Congressman Fleshman's district, please thank him for his service to our community and put in a good plug for us on this DOT grant.
Mayor, can
yeah.
I introduce Lakin Shattuck to you?
In Lakin, I can't even see her from where I'm sitting.
Hide in the corner. I'll
So,
let you take it.
as well as Senator Haggerty's office, so we have both of our congressional offices, Ms. Lakin Shattuck also, back to Cleveland from service in Nashville, and now serving in Senator Haggerty's office. So Lakin, I'm sorry I didn't see you back there. But it's great to have both of our federal offices represented here at City Hall. And that concludes our reports from our members of the council. That takes us to item number 10 on the agenda, which is new business. And we actually have a matter that was moved from the consent calendar as requested by Councilman Cassada. It was consent item A, final passage of ordinance 2022-34, amending Title 9 of the Municipal Code to add a new Chapter 8 to be titled Nightclubs. It is in your packets on pages 9 through 13. Councilman Cassada, at your request, this was moved to new business, so I'll let you begin the discussion.
Thank you, Mayor, I appreciate it. I just wanted to, you know, we had this, we voted on last time, but we had the elections, you know, people being reinstated back in the office so we didn't have any dialogue. After getting this, reading this, I've really got some questions about this, because as I go through this in certain areas in sections 801 definitions, it states in here number 4, later hours defined after midnight. My grandpa always said nothing ever happens good after midnight. So, I mean, we're going from 11, 12 o'clock on past hours. And low lighting levels, darkness during music, videos, entertainment events, public safety again inside the building. I mean, there's some things that I really have questions about. Operation hours on 7, you look at it. Live entertainment between the hours of 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., I'm sorry, to 3 a.m. And I think that's going to just cause havoc to the police. I mean, as it is now, we've got some noise. We had a couple places already that have noise, and if they permit to this is going to cause even more havoc, I would think, for the police department and for that. But the nightclubs permitted, it says down here, down in the lower section, 802, I just want to bring this out. Nightclub permit, located no more than 700 feet away from the nearest boundary of any residential zone. mean, you got loud music inside or outside, even with a car going down the road, it's just, it's, you can hear the thump, 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 so I can imagine going through that. Also, outdoor gatherings, it kind of contradicts itself a little bit. Amplify, you can't have outdoor, but it says up here you can. But I just really question, and it says here, you know, for the permit being pulled, and they state here, number 3 on 803, if you can read with me here, number of occurrences by the police department called, you know, you can lose your license as nightclub or nightclub. Impact of noise activity in nightclubs surrounding property owners, you can. Parking problems, we've had that before, in residential places and stuff. It just causes a havoc. I don't know if we really want to open this up to do this. I really don't understand why we're going nightclubs. When I look at nightclubs, I think of adult entertainment, and I'll just say it here, and in some cities we call it that. So I think we're carrying it a little further, and I'm really uncomfortable of supporting this at this time. I don't know, right now, we've got enforcement until 11 o'clock. You can't serve beer until 11 o'clock. So, you know, restaurants can be open at 12, but now we're pushing it. Maybe we are going to a metro. You know.
Let's hear from City Manager Fivas as a response to Councilman Gaston.
Yeah, I can give you the overarching rationale, and then Robert Burnell can answer any detailed technical questions. Hopefully that's better. What we had a few months ago was that as far as nightclubs in the city, that there was virtually no regulation, that they could pretty much go in any zoning district in the city. There was nothing that would prohibit them from doing many of these activities. And certainly, we thought that there was some concern just for not having structure, ordinance structure, and how to deal with that. We've had a number of incidents where we've had nightclubs that have come in, that have had 300, 400, 500, 600 people in the last 6 months. And the police and the fire department and our building folks had a lot of questions on where the gray areas of what they could do and what they couldn't do and how to work with this. This is not a new problem, actually, to the city of Cleveland. It's an issue that Chattanooga has really been a pioneer in trying to work at. What we think has happened is that a lot of these groups, which are, Mark, when you say most of the people come from outside Cleveland, come to these events?
Usually the events are organized by someone outside, and then they have their own outside.
So Chattanooga has a similar thing, and the people we believe that we're organizing with from Chattanooga, and then they were focused in the city of Cleveland on having these events. What we're merely trying to accomplish is to have a regulatory framework in which they can be regulated or good partners. We're certainly not trying to disencourage them, but we need them to play by a certain set of rules, and that's what is in this packet, and Robert can talk about more of the details.
Do you feel like that we need to get something in place now, and if we see that it's needs to be reworked, modify it later?
We think absolutely that probably time is of the essence, because what we want to do is we want to treat everyone equally. We think with no framework that it leaves a lot of subjective decisions by whether it's the fire marshal or whether it's the police department or the building thing, is that this gives a pathway in which they can come and make the argument to the council on this is why we should do this type of event or this type of establishment or whatever it is, that yes. And we think that, we don't believe that this is gonna be the end-all be-all, but it's a starting point for having a regulatory framework. If we look and something isn't necessarily working, or it's not equitable, then we would certainly come back and address it. We're just trying to figure it out, just like Chattanooga had to go and figure out a lot of their issues that they dealt with.
Could we conform it to what we have now, similar, like hours of operation is to stop at 11 or 12 instead of going to 3 a.m.? I mean, can that?
Councilman Cassidy, y'all may or may not know this, but your restaurants, for example, and this restaurant's not nightclubs, but a restaurant can sell alcohol, whatever hours the state allows, and those places with liquor by the drink permits, once you adopt those laws, which the citizens voted for, those hours of operation transmit over to your beer laws. And so, right now, alcohol can be served well after midnight at many establishments in Cleveland legally. That's just the law. I don't know if that's news to y'all, but if it is.
No, I always thought they always cut it off by 11 o'clock.
Oh, no, sir.
Well,
Not even close. So, convenience stores, restaurants, some restaurants choose to close at 11, right?
So, John, you're talking about state law?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So what happens when you adopt liquor by the drink or package stores, those hours that those type of places can be open are now dictated to you by state laws. And your beer sales have to mirror those. That's the law in the state. So that ship sailed a long time ago when we got liquor by the drink and package stores as far as your hours of operation. Now, to your point, Councilman Castor, we have noise ordinances in place, but as Mr. Fivas is saying, what they copied from Chattanooga with some modifications is try to put a regulatory framework in place to deal with this issue that may arise, before it arises, not after it arises.
Yeah.
And I will remind you, y'all know this, but you've already placed these types of establishments by zoning in commercial highway. You did that 2-3 months ago.
Commercial highway only.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So the point is, this is a licensing framework that works hand in hand with where they're not gonna be allowed to try to address in advance the effects that can be negative, right? But as far as operations of legal sales of alcohol, those are well after midnight by many establishments right here in town.
John, are you saying that the state has said that they can operate from 11 p.m. until 7 a.m. and serve alcohol?
I'm saying, yes, I don't have committed to memory what the hours are for liquor by the drink.
Well, I'm just going by what this says, 11
But-
to 7, so.
Well, and I want to say, one thing that does occur is you pay a fee to go in the door, and the alcohol's built into that. So the service, it's an open bar.
But it can't operate till 7 a.m. according to this.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
I think what this is saying is
This
if
is a-
somebody is doing that,
If
then
they're-
they fall under this category and then they have to do all these things. We're seeing people stay open until 6 or 7 in the morning.
And I think-
So we're trying to say, those people that do that have to get this permit.
I think I may be able to help by saying what this is doing is it is putting greater limitations that are currently in effect. This is limiting it even more to
That's
protect our,
right.
to
This
protect
builds a
our city.
framework. This builds a framework to permit it and then enforce it if need be, or just allow it. But there's existing businesses here that will have to follow this.
It goes back to Chief Gibson's earlier comments that I respect so much. We are empowering them now to have a stronger case to enforce by passing this as a council.
It's a path where if there are issues, you can deal with them.
Well, I mean, I just want to, with this, is if they don't have the permit that they want, you can shut them down as the first person walks in the door. If you don't have this, you have to wait until a person 300 shows up, and then it's a mess trying to
I
fix it.
think, in relation to comments, this is what helps, not what creates the problem.
Okay, well, it was, and I'm glad we had this discussion. I've learned something from it, and our public will learn something from it too, because it's out there, and they're asking questions about, what about this, what about that?
Is that-
We don't be that. So by having this discussion, I appreciate Joe, I appreciate Chief and Robert too, and open this up to a discussion so the public understands where we're at and where we're going.
And
I just don't want them to perceive that we're doing something drastic going the wrong way.
it does
So,
require a motion for this to pass from the council since we've moved
So
it to new
moved.
business.
I'll second it.
Is this motion now for 50, the change is to 50 from 100 to 50, is that correct?
From 100 to 50, is that what it is?
You're adopting,
A reduction.
Production.
Mr. Varnell is gonna go through the changes from what you voted at from the last.
Yeah.
Mr. Kimball, these are minor enough that it's kosher.
They're all within the scope of what you
I appreciate Mr. Kimball too.
And we just mirrored it to the building code and took that as the threshold because the building code has a certain threshold, so we figured it might as well
And
be
so
that.
what I'm going to do is just respond so the clerk gets this clearly. We do have a motion on the floor from Councilman May. It has been seconded by Councilman Cassada, and Mr. Barnell will give further explanatory details before we take the vote.
Yeah, just a few quick facts. It's, what's different is the threshold, occupancy threshold. There's a fee schedule in place for applying for this, and there's a certain other small caveats that they must meet to be able to even apply for the permit, which Jonathan, we go through as a department.
Jonathan, you gotta make sure they got bars down the front, down the middle of it to hold the building up, correct?
They just have to meet all the ADA.
Okay, well, I'm
Building
just-
code.
I'm just making it observation.
Meet it all.
Thank you, Mr. Varnell. So, as I mentioned a moment ago for the clerk, we have an active motion by Councilman May, actively seconded by Councilman Cassada. We've heard lively debate and discussion. Anything further? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Cassada,
Aye.
Councilman Hughes, Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie, Councilman Estes. That carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. It takes us to the next item on the new business, which is zoning ordinance 22-35, the rezoning of .54 acres from R1 to PI for property located at 4041 North Ocoee Street. There was a public hearing earlier. This was approved by the Planning Commission 8-0, and it does require a motion from this council.
So moved.
Second.
It's a proper motion by Councilman May, properly seconded by Councilman Estes. Any other discussions, questions, or concerns? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Estes, Councilman Cassada,
Aye.
Councilman Hughes, Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
That carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The next item on the agenda is ordinance 2022-36, amending the Cleveland Municipal Code, Title 14, zoning ordinance, sections 3.8A and 3.8B to clarify accessory structures and the total maximum square footage per lot, approved by the Planning Commission 8-0. It does require a motion from the council.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion by Councilman Webb, properly seconded by Councilman Cassada. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Councilman Cassada,
Aye.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Hughes, Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie,
Aye.
Councilman Estes. That carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The next item on the agenda is ordinance 2022-37, amending the Cleveland Municipal Code, Title 14, zoning ordinance, section 4.1.2A, sub number 1, to require a pre-submittal meeting for PUDs. It was approved by the Planning Commission 8-0 and does require a motion.
So moved.
It's a proper motion by Councilman Estes. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly seconded by Vice Mayor Avery Johnson. Any further comments, questions, or concerns? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Estes, Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy,
Aye.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Hughes, Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
That carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes, takes us to the next and final resolution, which is Resolution 2022-82, approval of a contribution to the Industrial Development Board for the purchase of stream mitigation credits relating to the Spring Branch Industrial Development Park. And this does require a motion from the council.
So moved.
My goodness.
Second. Third.
Such enthusiasm. I heard a Councilman May motion with a second by Councilman Webb. Any changes, concerns from the council? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy,
Aye.
Councilman Hughes, Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie,
Aye.
Councilman Estes.
Aye.
That carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Takes us to item 11 on the agenda, which is announcements. The Cleveland City offices will be closed on Monday, October the 10th in observance of Columbus Day. Equally, the city council meeting that was scheduled for that day will be canceled from Monday, October the 10th. The next Cleveland City Council meeting will be held in this chamber on Monday, October 24th. Just for my colleagues on the council, the official newly elected city council official picture will also be Monday, October 24th at the 3 p.m. session. At that same time, we will have nominations for the appointment of the Vice Mayor of Cleveland, also October 24th at 3 p.m. I cannot let today go without recognizing and acknowledging our award-winning airport manager, Mark Fidler, with the announcement of his impending but no date given retirement to fly the coop, as was reported by the Banner. It's a great, great headline.
But if you don't hire anyone, you can't leave.
That's correct.
Mayor, I've got one other announcement.
Councilman May, you're recognized.
Yeah, my granddaughter's in labor. We're gonna have a new member in the May family.
That's
Coming
fantastic.
on.
Congratulations.
More Mays, congratulations.
Oh.
He's having a great granddaughter.
All right.
Congratulations.
Any other comments from the council?
Great.